cash crisis work. Thanks. They removed the 1,000 thing right here called monetary preparedness.
All right. Checking in for a little bit of a RTD news update. Hope everyone's doing well. Wanted to just check in quickly for just a brief moment. Somebody in the community mentioned about getting a live stream, and I said I'll do the best I can. But unfortunately, internet is a little spotty, so I'll do the best I can. Let me know if you guys can hear me in a little hotel lobby. So not sure if it's the best quality of a live stream, but I'll do the best I can. Just want to share some thoughts, and of course, also as you guys can tell from the title of this live stream here, BidenFlation is getting a lot of attention these days. So I'll put together a little visual aid just to, not to make light of everything, but also just to pinpoint the fact that we had concerns of consumer price inflation well before this whole Russia-Ukraine situation jumped off. But it's interesting how now that Ukraine and Russia is underway, it's easy for the administration to point at Putin as the reason for it. So anyway, but we have liftoff. So I had a chance to just listen to some of the Jerome Powell spiel. But ultimately, when I got done listening to him and as well as a couple other commentators, I realized that these guys have no credibility whatsoever. It's all gone. And at this current moment, based upon all the activity happening geopolitically, as well as with the soon-to-be introduction of another monetary world order, it's completely irrelevant at this point, in my opinion, especially if you are a person who thinks long-term, especially in regards to preparing yourself for just a transition in general. Now, if you're on a trading side or if you're one of those people like to speculate, get in, get out of things, and of course, you might, want to pay attention to that Fed speak as they try to give you a heads up as to what they're going to do as best as they can. But anyway, hope everyone's doing well. I got a couple of visual aids I want to share with you real quick. And then, of course, get your thoughts, because I am, as I mentioned, concerned with the internet connection, won't be on long, and also got some plans coming up pretty soon. But hope everyone is doing well. Want to give you guys a chance to connect via community-wise in the chat. And then also, for those that might be new to the community, typically Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m., we have a chance to connect officially via live stream. But given the circumstances, not at the PC officially, but want to connect anyway. So let me just, share some of my 2 cents. And also where I'm located at, I am keeping an eye on prices just because at this point I've been glued in to just, keeping my pulse or my hands on the actual pulse of what's happening around the world. But anyway, let me just, put some things on the screen, man. I think it's worthwhile. So, if you guys can see this visual aid right here, this is what we have. So when we got the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell coming out and his crew coming out talking about a 0.25% hike, given the current trajectory of what's been happening for the last 40 years, no matter what, we're still heading sub-zero. But in real terms, we already are sub-zero. But, they have to try to play like they can do something about this. But they're irrelevant, as I mentioned, unless you really are, in these markets here. But, the liftoff, let me hone in on the liftoff that we are experiencing as of now for whatever it's worth. And then, of course, to talk about another seven hike rates this year, yada, yada, yada. Let me just zoom in if I can to this. This is liftoff. This is what we got right here. You see that blip? You see that blip right there? That's called a liftoff. And as you guys can see what happened prior to 2018, 19-ish, 2018 when they stopped raising and started to reduce. Then we ran into something in 2019, repo crisis, yada, yada, yada. So here we are today. So this blip right here is just to give the mainstream something to look at, while in actuality, the bigger concerns lie well beyond this. So let me just share with you a little bit of a visual aid I put together earlier, just because I had to play along with this. But you guys have seen this before. I just spice it up a little bit. But as you guys can see here, I put a little quote under there from the administration we currently have presiding over the country. At least that's what we're told. But it says inflation is largely the fault of Putin, not democratic spending. But as you guys can see, look at that basket. Look at the different alternatives of $20 bills we've had over the last couple decades, and all along it's been all about purchasing power and the lack thereof. And at this current moment, literally that cart you guys see right here, this cart right here, this is a very good indicator of what's happening right now with what you can do with $20. So, but it's not a left-right, it's not a Democrat, not a Republican thing. They're all in on the same thing. You know where this is all headed. As I always say, for those that might be new to the community, just look at from a historical standpoint. Let me put this on the screen if I can. just from a historical standpoint, what we've been dealing with. This has been the case since Thomas Woodrow Wilson basically turned over our currency to a private institution. And then also on top of all that, JP Morgan and all the things they're doing. And LME is looking very suspect right now with the closure again of the nickel market. So I can go on and on and on. But just a couple things that just you can't help but pay attention to. The headlines. Don't blame Putin. It's still BidenFlation. So when you have mainstream news articles coming out talking about Biden, the tides are turning. They're desperate right now to try to point the blame at somewhere. And who can you point it to other than this current administration, of course? So anyway, here's another little headline I thought I would bring to your attention. Doritos cut number of chips in each bag, blames BidenFlation. So this is as of today. This is a headline. This is what it is. But anyway, hope everyone's doing well. Just want to make sure I connect with you guys as best I can while I can. And it's March Madness, so out and about. But what I have been paying attention to most is what I'm going to talk about more moving forward is the visual aid I did yesterday. So to me, this is the, if you zoom out, this is a 1,000-foot, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000-foot viewpoint of ultimately what's happening right now. And as I was staring at this last day or so, well before I put it together, I was trying to figure out how to take this subject matter and relay this information so that it's not a political issue, it's not a health issue, it's not a black white issue. All the diversion tactics that they've used to try to keep our attention off what ultimately matters for the majority of people, which is the preservation of your purchasing power, which is a reflection of your time, energy, and everything else. But just for this rant real quick, I was looking at this and the first thought came to my mind is we can learn a lot from history. I actually shared this on Twitter with a quote from Thomas Burke, 20 something or something like that. But he talked about those who don't learn from history are bound to repeat it. And within this visual aid here, so much history is given to us. If people decide to go get it for themselves, which more than likely the average Joe will not, but it's all about looking in between the lines. And when I say looking in between the lines, right now we're at a transition point. Everybody knows that, but there's so much we can learn from prior transitions if you were to hone in and look in between the lines. And so what I mean by looking in between the lines is when you zoom in, this gray line right here, this gray line between 101 years of the Federal Reserve note and the question mark above it, that gray line tells it all. So when I mean that gray line, I'm talking about all the events that unfolded leading up to the announcement of that next currency. And so, of course, if you go back, you have the British pound, and then that gray line in between there, which led to the Federal Reserve note becoming the predominant currency used. And that gray line had a lot to do with the World War I, and more importantly, the transition of all the gold around the world being funneled into the US because we were the primary provider of war ammunition and all types of other things. So the gold was flooding into our country, and we basically much had the biggest vaults. And of course, we know everything happened in between. It's a whole list of things. The Gold Act is, basically strip people of their gold, yada yada yada. But zoom in now on this current gray line. What do we have? Just off the top of my head, over the last umpteen years of me covering this subject matter, on this gray line here, all of Western gold, to my knowledge, has been fleeing out east. So we have Russia, China. We know, I showed you visual aids before of them having accumulated more gold than we actually know about. That right there plays into more of this transition towards that question mark that I believe personally within the next, where we are, March right now, within the next 9 months, before then, before we leave 2022, we will have the official announcement of something that will be hard to ignore. The world will recognize it. And unfortunately, as a result of that turning on of the light switch, as I always say, my concern is that after that's announced or before that's announced, the power will go out. There will be some type of cyber event that will occur once there's something officially announced or leading up to that. So there's a lot more things that I'm going to talk about in the next couple of days and moving forward, trying to reach people who are not even in tune with this, who could care less. You have to care because your life is on that gray line ultimately. So there's a lot more things to touch on. So I'll definitely be doing that. But one of the things I want to touch on right now, in reference to that gray line is what I'm keeping an eye on, what matters to me. As I mentioned, Jerome Powell and JP and crew, ultimately they're irrelevant at this current moment because they've already lost control. And even watching Jerome Powell a little bit, as you guys can see, he was more nervous and more uncertain on how to respond in a way that wouldn't give away too much, but then also posturing the position of them still being in control. We know they lost control. But what I am keeping an eye on, which I think is going to be something that will play into uh, future events, is the gold to silver ratio. Because as of right now, the benchmark has primarily been set by the West, i.e. COMEX. And we know the spot price is a major disconnect from what it costs you to get real physical. So as of right now, I think the gold and silver, let me actually look up the price real quick. I saw a lot of green action, and I want to say that's probably still the case. But let me just validate that there. So as of right now, let me just put this on the screen right here. So as of right now, gold is, $25. Okay, cool. That's irrelevant. Why am I to explain why real quick? And this is all my estimation, my opinion. There's going to be 3 different metrics of how to assess the fiat terms on an ounce of silver, an ounce of gold. The primary metric has always been the spot price. And as of right now, let me just check this out. What are they telling us the gold to silver ratio is? Let me see if I can find it. Where is it at? Let me see. Gold to silver ratio is not on here. Or is it? No, it's not on here. But they would tell us the gold to silver ratio 72, 75, or whatever. And I want to share with you what I'm going to be keeping an eye on more so than anything else is the reality. And this goes back to the little rant I shared with you the other day. So this is from Tangible Assets on Twitter. I didn't get a chance to touch on this, but this is the true state of this is a dual standard as far as measuring the gold and silver ratio. And I'm ranting a little bit just because I want to get all this off my mind. I had a lot of stuff going through my mind today. And I got, maybe 3 or 4 videos in me, but I don't got time. Anyway, so the blue line is the gold to silver ratio, official gold to silver ratio, according to the COMEX measure. The red line is the gold to silver ratio for the American gold eagle and the American silver eagle. And so there has already been a great divergence, as you guys can see on this visual aid here. And briefly, the measurements that were the tracking of these different measurements took place. Of course, I see here says how many gallons of oil to silver. I haven't dived that deep. I'll get there. But as you guys can see on this map here, it started at the end of last year is when the person first started measuring. So it was 77 or so, and then in American silver eagle, American gold eagle, it was under 70. So as you guys can see, the blue line has been going upward based upon the manipulation of them being able to dump contracts whenever they want, slamming the price down, whatever, completely fictitious, not real. But it's what the mainstream media focuses on because that has been the price setter for the last umpteen years. But you and I, we know something different. We feel something different. And then the red line is what's more important because as you guys can see, as of, I think it was this past weekend, I grabbed this visual aid from Tangible Assets on Twitter. You see the red line to the far right. It's at 52-ish right now. So 72, 75 is what we're told, but 52 is what the actual in your hand physical spot price or the gold to silver ratio exchange will be. So basically 52 silver eagles will get you 1 ounce of gold in gold eagle terms. So already right there, we have two different measurements. The paper world, the American United States Mint, lawful constitutional money version. And it's only going to go down, especially as the inability of U.S. Mint to continue to source, basically American money in a sense, real tangible money. So it's going to go up. And so that red will go down a lot faster than the blue will because they're going to continue to suppress the price until they lose control completely. And then this is where the third part of this comes in. We already hear about what's happening in China with their Shanghai futures. They're going to set the price. They already are setting the price for themselves. India is about to start setting the price. And lo and behold, if not already, Russia will probably start setting the price as well. You take the 3 biggest countries in terms of trade and in terms of offering real value to the world, as far as the real world resources they have, their benchmark, if they come up with a joint benchmark, which there could be one already, I'm not sure of, but if they come up with a real benchmark to set the price of real metals, game over. COMEX will be completely irrelevant. Everybody and their mother who deals with the COMEX from a trading standpoint, as well as a true determination of how you set the price, it's going to be an unbelievable arbitrage. It's going to be a lot of people on the West sending metals out to the East to try to take advantage of that spread in the prices as things really decouple, and that's game over. So that's just what I've been keeping an eye on. I think that red line is going to go a lot further, a lot faster. And when it does, it's just going to show how much more important American-made U.S. constitutional money really is in comparison to everything else, especially here on the homeland, because along with that will come all the chaos and pandemonium, yada, yada, yada. And then, of course, the CBDC stuff will roll right after there. But I think holding American-made U.S. mint coins, constitutional money, will definitely carry somewhat of a higher prestige. It's going to be something that I think is going to be a different classes of currency in circulation. It's going to be something about that U.S. minted, stamped, and approved metal that will be like no other, in my opinion. And then you got the generic stuff. That's going to also be important because it's going to go up as well, just because it's chemical composition. It's real silver, real gold. So, and on top of all the other raw materials that would be priced by them as well. So anyway, it's ultimately spells the collapse of the Western world's, the Federal Reserve dominance. As I always say, for those that are just tuning in, all dollars are not created equal. That's why this American Eagle, Silver Eagle, American Gold, American Silver matter so much, because they are true versions of dollars. And this goes back to all the coinage acts from day one. But anyway, yeah, so as I mentioned, for those just tuned in, appreciate you for joining us, man. Just wanted to rant a little bit while my internet connection hopefully is still good. And so feel free real quick, throw out some thoughts or some ideas you guys want to touch on. The most important thing was just giving you guys, a community, a chance to connect in real time right now in the chat, because the greatest education I think that we've all had in this journey is being able to learn from each other, man. That's been one of the biggest blessings for me, was to connect with so many smart minds around the world, thanks to this technology called the internet. But yeah, so that's just a little something that's been on my mind for the last couple of hours. But feel free to throw some thoughts, and we can make it work. Somebody says about Eagle. Eagles are $40. Yeah. And so I did notice that the spread on Eagles dropped a little bit today, despite the all that hype out there. But let me share with you. This is something that I was, I'm gonna probably be updating this copy link. Let me 1 second. I'll probably be updating this little visual aid here, because I attempted to do a little updating, and I did notice from two of the sources I checked that the premiums came down slightly. But it's one of the things where it's going to be a matter of getting it while you can. Let me zoom out real quick. Okay, so yeah, this is just a little visual aid. I'm probably going to be updating this just because this is what I call my fiat redemption spread, the difference between physical and the manipulated spot price. And so just looking at a couple, I think AppMax is down $1 or so. So these are just the 5 primary online dealers that I think majority of people in the U.S. tend to pay attention to. And then also reading some of the comments, let me know. And this is where community is so important, because I'm a big fan of doing business hand to hand, preferably, redeeming fiat currency directly, not using my card when possible. But this is a great time for those in the community, depending on what city you're in, if you feel comfortable giving a shout out to some of your local coin shops. And so if you're in Metro Detroit, you guys know the 2 spots I primarily deal with. I told you that before. And so let's start, formulating, little community talks or whatnot. And that's why the Discord and the Telegram are important, because, give a shout out to your local coin dealer, man. Like those are going to be considered the real heroes moving forward, because it's my opinion that online bullion dealers will eventually somehow have some difficulties transacting business on the internet moving forward if we get into that cyber crap that's going to be thrown our way. So make connections with real people in real places, and also all the other, food, water, shelter, all those type of things as well, man. So if you have a favorite place in your neck of the woods, give that shout out, and make sure that people are well informed where they can go get physical from trustworthy sources, of course, people that you've been dealing with that you trust. All right, let me check in real quick. So the town crier says premiums in England are going mad. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Throw out some prices, what you're seeing, man. Jay says Miles Franklin's Britannias are $5.75 over spot. Andy Shackman. Yeah, I thought about, because I've had Andy on a few times. I thought about having him kind of being a sponsor and affiliate, but at this current moment, a lot of people do things just for the sake of trying to make a couple dollars. I understand from a business standpoint, everybody got to make their time worth it, but I'm more so concerned with logistically speaking in the next year. Moving stuff through the mail is not going to be ideal because it may not make it to your final. It may not make it to its final destination, in my opinion. So Butch says, I notice when metals go down, everything goes down. So it's all relative. And based upon prior events, true, but there's something about what's going on now that's unlike anything else in human history. Not everything else in human history, but everything that we, meaning everybody tuned in right now, has never experienced in their lifetime. And, you guys know what I'm referring to. So based upon prior experiences, we can say that might be the case. But as I mentioned, there's going to be 3 different price measurements: the COMEX spot, the real physical American made products, and then whatever the next brick union will probably come up with to set prices. So prices, like no doubt, the metals price might be able to be slammed down from a COMEX standpoint. But then again, on the physical American made products, the premiums are going to go up because everything that's already been coined right now is already out of distribution. So all these coin dealers that I've talked about, their inventory is dwindling down. People are racing to get physical just for the sake of, protection. So at some point, the dealers are going to run out of inventory because nobody in their right mind is smart enough to sell it right now when it's extremely undervalued. So what are they going to have to do? They have to entice people more by either offering more on the buyback side, and then offering more on the buyback side. Because right now, I think I saw Eagles are being bought back by a lot of these major distributors by, I think it's like $32, $33. So they're only paying you $6 or $7, I think, above spot price, but they're charging you, $15. So that they got to make a profit. So the buyback will go up, but then again, the premium will go up because that spread in between, the fiat redemption spread, from a business standpoint, they have to make their funds. So I say all that to say the physical and the spot will be completely different. And we'll feel that. So I think just as much as I say Jerome Powell and the Fed are officially irrelevant, because as I mentioned, this is the liftoff I was referring to that took place, I guess today or sometime today they're going to do it officially. But then again, when you look at the long-term trajectory, it's irrelevant. There's no controlling what's happening. They've already lost control. It's basically it's game over for the Fed. It's nothing they can do. So that's why this is so important for you, for those that are tuning in, to realize, all dollars are not created equal. Federal Reserve have their own products, their own liabilities. The United States Mints, they've created their own products, and that's always been the people's money. So yeah, I'm ranting a little bit, but I enjoy it. I got a lot of stuff in my mind. A lot of stuff. Gold or silver will not help you. Maccabees. Gold and silver will not help you. Depending on what you mean by help. Because from a financial preservation standpoint, I think, and this is just, once again, me going upon history, just looking back over history, having something real tangible you can feel in your possession has always allowed you to sustain yourself a lot longer than not having it. True. But ultimately, as I always say, for those that are not familiar with it, this is a spiritual warfare at its core essence of everything. So of course you can't pay for your ticket to heaven or into the kingdom of God. So we know beyond all that, get your spiritual house in order first. So but this primarily has always been a monetary literacy program. And so speaking monetarily, you know where to be. Spiritually, only Christ can save you, the blood. So, thank God for the blood. But anyway, yeah, get your fuel up. Nick, I appreciate that. It says fasting and praying for God's will help. Definitely, man. And I want to just share some thoughts on something that I've been trying to focus on. And I've been attempting to, throughout the day, increase my word intake by spending more time in the word, just because the word is always, this is me, I have to incorporate the spiritual essence of things because, without it, what are you? But I've put together, I put an app on my phone that reminds me every day to go through certain scriptures and to recite it out my mouth and to spend more time in the word, because the word is, it's spiritual nutrients. And I just want to make sure to also keep that in your mind as well. Get your prayer game up, get your weight up, get your prayer game up, get your calories up, get it up right now, get everything up. And definitely within this community, I'm gonna continue to talk about that. So yeah, for those tuning in, as I mentioned, not in my typical location, out and about, and just trying to connect via Wi-Fi on my phone in the hotel lobby. And I'm using my little earpiece here, so it'll be different, but hopefully everything came through. But anyway, be blessed, people. Be blessed. Enjoy the day. God is still good. He's on the throne, man. And man, it's just a great time to be alive, people. We are in a front row seat to something that can turn out to be greater for humanity if done through the lens of, bringing glory to our Creator. And so that's definitely what I'm gonna try to do all the way through. But not in Cali, not too far from my home residence, but somewhere different. Being a parent, those duties call. So anyway, just want to connect for all those tuning in. The links are down below. Connect on the Telegram. Communicate amongst yourselves there, especially on Discord. As I mentioned, I want to give a shout out to all my people in the community. Share where you get your preps from trusted, reliable sources in those locations, so people in your neck of the woods can stay plugged in, because the clock is ticking, and it's always good to be one step ahead than one step behind. So anyway, be blessed, be safe. I have to get ready to go, but want to connect real quick. Be blessed, be safe, and back at it tomorrow. I'll try to do something tomorrow as well. But anyway, peace.
Visit Rethinking the Dollar throughout the day, your place for news on metals, gold, crypto, you name it. Scroll down to the bottom and you get a chance to see the daily videos, the recommended videos, and more importantly, the 5 reasons to unplug from the monetary matrix, with the first one being the awakening period. Step number 1, test your dollar IQ. 10 simple questions, average is 60%. Follow up with the alternative perspective with the monetary reports. Consider becoming a supporter of the Rethinking the Dollar platform via Patreon. Get a chance to hang out off air, as well as additional information that can't be discussed on YouTube. Any support is helpful. With the crackdown on alternative media, the best thing to do is connect off air. Scroll down to the very bottom. You can find Rethinking the Dollar on Telegram, audio, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, you name it. The most important ones will be the email list, where you can get notified weekly, the Discord page, and make sure you connect on Telegram. And last, don't forget to visit the RTD store, where you can get merchandise as well as additional information and resources. And most importantly, scroll down to the bottom and get your weight up with all the limited edition rounds only available on the RTD store.